Hello my friends, it's Gabriel with the Last Huntsman Outdoors here. I am very excited to get out here with this review. I've had this knife for a little while and I think I'm ready to review it. And the knife I'm talking about is the Schwarz Overland and Magnacut. This is my first Magnacut blade that I have personally owned. I'm eager to get it out here and try it out. All right, so we'll just kind of discuss some of the basics on the Schwarz Overland. It's in Magnacut steel. It's roughly around 1/8 of an inch thick. It almost seems like it's a little bit thicker than that, but it's still right around 1/8 of an inch thick. But it has a very wide blade, high saber grind. And it kind of has that like classic kitchen knife kind of shape to it, Warncliffe. The scales, as you can see, are pretty flat, which has some cons, but also has some good pros. If you just got huge, meaty hands, it might seem a little awkward. For my medium-sized hands, it actually feels really good, and it conceals and carries pretty easy if you are EDCing this. Now, the sheath that it comes with, it's actually a high quality sheath, and we'll discuss it a little bit more later. But I like to kind of throw something to compare it to so you can kind of get a size reference. Here's the good old classic SE3. So if you like to carry something about the same size as an SE3, which this is kind of like my staple knife size that I like to go with for EDC, the Schwarz Overland is going to be perfect. Now this is one of the thinnest edge geometry edges that I've really ever messed with, and this is my first Magnacut knife I've owned. But I'm going to start off with some batoning. It's a piece of cedar. It's a very knotty piece of cedar too. Give it a go here. This is a sub 4-inch blade, so it's not going to be some like heavy batoner by no means, but for like little, I'm going to do just a bit more batoning with the Schwarz Overland. Now, this ain't a big knife. It's actually, I think it's like 3.8 inches, so it's not gonna be some like heavy duty batoner, but it is going right through those knots. And thus far, I have been very impressed with the Magnacut steel. But it does baton pretty good. Alright, so another thing I'm gonna try with the Schwarz Overland. So I'm just gonna do some slicing right into the middle of a knot, actually, right off the bat. So have to kind of work around that. Cedar generally is not like a particularly hard wood to slice, but it can be very knotty at times. And something else to take note on too, this knife, right off the bat, one of the things I noticed with the edge geometry is absolutely amazing. Actually, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this. This is one of the best edge geometry knives that I've ever used, quite frankly. So I was like super impressed with it right out of the box. It works amazingly well for like food prep stuff. And actually, when you kind of look at what this knife was designed for, you know, he designed it as a overland knife, so it kind of is meant for like that, like food prep, just kind of camping, backpacking type of knife, and it does amazingly well with that. Now, when I do this type of slicing, one of the things I'm doing is I'll kind of just put my like ninja death grip. I'll kind of feel for any hot spots and stuff. And you know, right off the bat, when you kind of look at this knife, it's a very flat handled knife, and it's actually pretty thin. That being said, it actually fits my hands amazingly well. I've kind of come to realize that knives don't necessarily have to have this like huge Coke bottle shaped handle to feel comfortable. It's all just overall based on the entire handle geometry and just the width and just knowing how to design it. And this knife does feel really good in hand. And if you had just like huge ogre hands, this handle might not feel great for you, but for my medium-sized hands, it feels amazingly well, quite frankly. And one advantage about those thin handles too, like I kind of mentioned earlier, is if you are going to like EDC this knife, especially if you're going to like try to conceal it, then those flat scales actually kind of lend themselves pretty well. But yeah, this knife is an amazing slicing knife. I've used it for some food prep stuff. I'm very impressed with this knife. Knife does just some absolutely amazing feather sticks. This thing is one of the sliciest knives I've ever used. I'll discuss the sheath right out of the box. It's actually fits really good. It has awesome retention, no rattle. His attention to detail, drainage hole, his attention to detail is just amazing. With the whole knife, the sheath and everything. The only qualm I had with the sheath itself is, and this is more of a me issue, it's not anything to do with Schwarz as a whole, but the way he designed this sheath here, it has this kind of hump here where it can kind of mount a belt clip that kind of fits right into the middle. And the way I like to carry a knife, well, it's kind of hard to see, but I like to stuff the sheath into my jeans where it conceals and then use an ulti clip. And when you try to do that, say if I put an ulti clip on this side, then that hump just kind of digs into you really bad. And so me personally, if I was going to make any suggestions with the sheath to kind of like redesign it, I would actually completely remove that whole hump thing, and out of the box, if you know you want to carry it more of like a traditional knife, just have like a Kydex backer plate that just has a little middle drop thing. I think that would have been a much better option, and then you could change it up however you want, because the sheath would have been just perfect right out of the box had it not had that thing. Now, while we're talking about sheaths, you might ask, okay, what sheath did you put on there? And the sheath that I put on here was the Tobacco Road Adventures sheath. This guy, I've had a whole lot of different Kydex makers, but Tobacco Road Adventure makes some of the most awesome sheaths that I have ever used. That like just to fit and finish on this, it's awesome retention. You can put whatever mounting option you want on there. I had him put an ulti clip because that's just how I like to carry a knife, but I had this made for me and I have been super impressed with this sheath. All right, so another task I'm gonna do with the Schwarz Overland here, so I'm just gonna do some notches here. I'm gonna start off with a little square notch, and I'm gonna do a tent stake, and I'm going to just do a straight up cross grain baton. See if I can, well, there we go, perfect. Little square notch right there. Another one here. See if I can make me a little tent stake notch. Perfect right there. Now I'm going to just try to cross grain baton it. Perfect. That Magnacut's holding up perfect. I'm very impressed with it. All right, as always, we got to do some rope cutting here. Glides right through it like it's nothing. I'm just doing... I mean it when I say this. This is probably one of the sliciest knives that I've ever used. This thing is amazing. I'm not even putting any effort into that at all. I'm going to see if I can double it up. Not going to matter. Absolutely amazing. All right, well, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up with the Schwarz Overland. Kind of give my overall thoughts and opinions on it. One, I'm going to just straight up say, this is one of my favorite EDC fixed blades. I love this knife. I've been carrying it for months now, and I absolutely like it. I think it's super awesome. And, you know, something to kind of think about with this knife, too, is, so the price range, at least when I last checked, was right around $300. That being said, that's an amazing deal for a Magnacut semi-custom made blade that you can pick whatever kinds of materials, fit and finish and all that type of stuff. Like, I just went real basic. I just picked green micarta and silver bolsters and just a plain blade. But you can get these Cerakoted. You could pick whatever color handles you want, whatever bolsters you want, and he'll custom make it for you pretty much, which is awesome. That's really cool. I enjoy that aspect of it. Now, another thing is I'm not going to really do a combatives portion with this, just because I don't really feel like that's the calling for this blade. Although I do feel that the guard is decent enough, and especially with that kind of handshake grip, it would work. But I'm not really worried about that with this blade in particular. And another thing to kind of take note on too is the spine there. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but it's slightly chamfered, so it's not going to strike a ferro rod. I would have liked to have seen this have a sharpened spine, especially for like the bushcrafty type of guys like me, or even if it just had like a ferro rod notch on the back, that would have been pretty awesome too. But you know, that's not a deal breaker for me, because I have a dozen different ways I can strike a ferro rod out in the woods. So there's that. Overall though, just those, and with the sheath with that little, well, actually, that right there, I mentioned my changes that I would make with that. But all that being said, I still highly suggest this blade. I still love this blade a lot, and it's definitely going to be, I have a top EDC fixed blade showdown series coming up, and this is definitely going to be one of them. I really like this knife. So if you're kind of questioning getting the Schwarz Overland, I definitely suggest it. I'm going to try to send this around to a few other YouTubers and get their opinions on it as well. But with that being said, be prepared both physically and spiritually. God bless, and carry on.